Hey guys, if you're an RC basher like I am, you are not going to want to miss this video because today we've got the Hobao Hyper MTX and this thing is something special. Check this out. So guys, this is a 1/8 scale monster truck from Hobao. They just came out with this model. It comes in two different flavors, a ready to run version and this 80% roller. I picked up the 80% roller, of course. I think a lot of you guys will be interested in doing that as well. Either way, you're gonna get an amazing amount of features for the price in this truck. Let me set this aside real quick. I'm gonna show you what you get with it, then we'll put it back on the bench and take a close look at this thing, and I'm gonna show you why I think this truck could really change the face of RC bashing. For paperwork, we get a warranty. For the 80%, we get these window mask decals. Then we get a really nice manual that's got a lot of nice, clear illustrations. Got an antenna tube too, nice and orange. Really clear illustrations for how the truck is put together. Has all the part numbers in here for you. Very clear, very nice. Also got some decals. We get a big bag of parts here with the 80%. Not all of this is gonna come with the ready to run version, but you get some battery tray pads. Battery tray is a really cool feature of this thing. We're gonna be looking at that in a minute, so stick around. We've got this big 3-wheel roller wheelie bar, some tools, some body pins, miscellaneous hardware, got a heat sink for the motor. Again, this will be on the ready to run version. We get this really nice pad that goes underneath the body. This locks into the roll hoop. Gonna provide a lot of protection for the top of that body. And we've got some zip ties and a few other miscellaneous pieces. Before we take a closer look at this, let's talk about the history of this truck. This is essentially the successor to the Hyper MT. They also included a ton of features that they added to the MT Plus 2, which is the even larger version of this truck, as well as some new features that are on neither one of those trucks. We're gonna talk about those features coming up. Speaking of coming up, in the next video, we're gonna be putting electronics in this thing and taking it out and bashing it hard, seeing how well this thing holds up. So get subscribed to make sure you don't miss that. Taking a look at this body, I have the clear one because I got the 80% roller. I get to paint this myself. This Lexan it's reasonably thick. It's what I would call average. Nothing to write home about, but definitely serviceable. This is where things start to get really impressive, starting with the tires. This is the Hyper MTX tire. This is a 6S Arrma backflip tire. This MTX tire is probably a ½ inch taller and almost a full inch wider. It absolutely dwarfs this 6S backflip tire. And that trend kind of continues with the rest of the truck. This truck is very large for being considered an 8th scale truck. I would consider this more of a 1/7 scale truck. Take a look at the comparison between this and a 6S Outcast. This thing is significantly longer, and that's without even putting the wheelie bar on it. It's significantly wider, it's way taller, and all of that without really weighing much more than the 6S Outcast does. If you're looking for a big 8th scale truck, you probably don't need to look much further than this MTX. This truck has got pretty much all the features you could possibly want, and some that I haven't seen any other manufacturer actually get right. First one I want to point out are these amazing shock guards. These are part of the body mounts, and you can see when I push down on these, they're going to hit the tops of the shocks, and that means that these tops of these shocks aren't going to be going through the body like they do in basically every other car manufactured right now. This is a fantastic feature, and I have no idea why every other manufacturer isn't already doing this. Speaking of other protective features, there's this really beefy center roll guard, and it actually mates up to this piece of foam that'll get stuck to the body. Now on the RTR, this will already be on the body. We have it off on here because we still have to paint the body, but that's gonna sit on here. So every time you take a knock from the head, it's not gonna be pushing the top of your body in. This is another fantastic feature. Okay, moving on, we've got the radio box up here. There's a ton of room in here. This is the same radio box as the MT Plus 2. Just so you know, I've already owned the MT Plus 2. I bashed that thing hard and it did really, really well. I was very impressed with it. It's what led me to buy this truck because this is just about an MT Plus 2, but shorter and a little more approachable. Other great features I like that come straight off the MT Plus 2, you've got these awesome removable battery trays. So basically this means once you put your battery in here and get it strapped down, you can charge it off the truck and then you can just click it into the truck and you don't have to worry about dealing with these straps over and over and over unless you want to switch these batteries over to another truck. You do have to run 2 batteries in this. To me, that's a bit of a disadvantage. I really like running a single battery, but it's not that bad. And having 2 batteries means that if you kill a cell in one of them, you're only buying 1 3-cell battery, not a 6-cell battery. Looking at the rest of this, we've got a really beefy transmission in here, a beefy motor mount with a center support. This center support comes in 40 and 42 millimeter flavors. This is the 40 millimeter flavor. Got about 85 millimeters of space in here for a motor, so you're not gonna get those really long can motors in here, but there are some larger motors that will fit in here. All right, moving on to the suspension. This suspension is really well designed. The front and rear components are almost all identical, which means you don't have to buy a whole bunch of weird different parts for them. They've got captured kingpins top and bottom. All the steering components and suspension components are double shear. That means the bolt going through is supported on both sides. That makes it a lot stronger. Nice, big, beefy, adjustable tie rods. Got these really nice all metal body, big bore shocks, heavy duty springs, this cool black coating on the shock shafts. I'm not sure if that actually does anything, but it certainly looks good. We've also got something you don't really see that often is universal joints as opposed to CVDs. In my experience, these universal joints are extremely durable. I've never broken a single one of them. Standard 17 millimeter hexes. That brings us to the party piece of this truck. This is a 7075 fully machined chassis. It is a U-channel shaped chassis, and it is absolutely bulletproof. My longer Hyper MT Plus 2 had this same chassis, but it was 6061 stamped, and I was unable to kill it. As you can see, every bit of this chassis is machined aluminum. The chassis, the center differential braces, the motor mount brace, it's all machined heavy duty aluminum. I don't think there's anything that'll ever have to be upgraded on these. I don't think there's anything that's gonna break on these unless you are sending this thing to the absolute moon. You're not gonna have to replace a chassis on this truck. Arms are nice, thick, durable, big webbing in here. I can't say enough good things about the suspension and the chassis of this truck. My MT Plus 2 took an absolute beating, and I never broke a single component in any of this. Flipping this back over, you can see we've got some nice big beefy bumpers front and rear with integrated skid plates. You also have a really nice ESC mount here, which has the Hobbywing ESC pattern built right into it. This should fit the Max 8 or the Max 6. Anything else, you'll need to use double-sided tape. We don't have a tower-to-tower brace here, but honestly, with the way this chassis is designed, I don't think it's necessary. Got all machined steel gears throughout this truck, sealed differentials front, center, and rear, an aluminum case for the center differential, and there's a bunch of other really cool stuff about this truck that I'm sure I'm forgetting. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really excited to get some electronics in this thing, get this body painted up, get these wheels on here, take this out and bash it and crash it, see how it does. If you want to see that, make sure you get subscribed. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.